Hello and welcome yet again to the Fox 26 Sports Stream. A busy evening for you. As always, I'm Sal Manine, sports producer here at Fox 26. We're talking Astros, we're talking Texans, we're even going to talk a little Rockets as they made headlines for the right reasons last night. We'll get into all that here on the Sports Stream over the next 20-30 minutes, whether you're joining us on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, or at fox26houston.com. Plenty of ways you can get in on the fun, and we appreciate you hanging out with us for the next 30 minutes as there's a lot to get to going on, even though it's June, when you typically think this is when things start to slow down a little bit in the sports calendar. It's really just baseball time, but there's plenty going on as the Texans are in the midst of their offseason training program. And of course, everybody knows Deshaun Watson, not part of the group right now, but we finally did hear from the other quarterbacks who are in the room and where they are planning to be as they head into the season. And it's not with Deshaun Watson anywhere around them or as part of that QB room. So we'll hear from both Davis Mills and Tyrod Taylor, as well as offensive coordinator Tim Kelly. And then we'll get into the Astros and the Rockets as the Astros are on the field right now in Boston. There was some precarious weather a few hours ago, but it's cleared up long enough that they think they're going to be able to get this whole game in, and it could not have gotten off to a better start for the Astros. They just got out of the bottom of the second, so they're going to the third inning, already 6-0 Houston. Carlos Correa with a homer in the first, and then the Astros just blew things open in the second inning, putting 5 runs up as they already have chased Red Sox starter Martin Perez. Framber Valdez going for Houston through 2 innings and is yet to allow anyone to reach base. So things looking good for the Astros, winners of 6 of 8 coming into this one as they're on the road this week before finally returning back to Minute Maid Park. And they got plenty of other good news, not just with what was going on the field, but Michael Brantley back in the lineup. He's actually not hitting in his typical number 2 hole. That's where Correa got his solo shot in the first. Correa's hitting second. Brantley bumped down to 6th in the batting order because Dusty Baker says since he's been out for the last 2 weeks, he wants to kind of see where Michael Brantley's at before he starts putting him back at the top of that lineup. But that's welcome news for a Astros team that really was the walking wounded for the longest time here, getting Michael Brantley back. And then Dusty Baker announced before the game that Lance McCullers Jr., who has been on the injured list, is going to make a rehab start in Sugar Land Thursday night, and then they'll go from there to see how soon he can get back into the rotation. And it's still TBD on catcher Jason Castro as to whether he's going to need a rehab start or 2, or if they can just insert him back onto the everyday roster as he recovers from injury. But I mentioned Lance McCullers Jr. and making his rehab start Thursday night for the Skeeters. And then the Astros are going to have a very interesting question, because when Lance McCullers Jr., who you don't forget, you just gave a big extension to before the season, when he's back healthy, he's part of your rotation, which then means because you've had to rely on so many arms as you were battling injuries early on in this campaign, you all of a sudden have 6 starters for 5 spots in the rotation. And the most obvious thing would be to say, all right, well, Luis Garcia, the rookie, he goes back to the bullpen because that was always the plan. But all Luis Garcia has done since he's had to become an every day or every 5th day part of this rotation is been the Astros' most consistent starter. Over the weekend, he won his 5th consecutive start, 5-0 since May 15th, went 6 innings, allowed just 3 hits, 1 earned run on the road in Buffalo, but against the Toronto Blue Jays. That is now 3 straight starts for Luis Garcia where he's gone at least 6 innings and given up only 1 run. And again, 5 straight decisions that he's won going out there as the starter for Houston. And we know that the bullpen is the big Achilles heel with this Astros team. So as long as you got a hot hand in Luis Garcia, yes, obviously as a rookie and a guy who has not piled up the innings before, you will have to monitor his workload as the season progresses. but why not keep riding that hot hand? And perhaps that does mean that they either ease Lance McCullers Jr. back, maybe Jake Odorizzi, who struggled in his last outing, maybe he has to eat some innings out of the bullpen for the time being, or perhaps Dusty Baker even shuffles things up and tries to go with 6 starters in his rotation for the time being. I don't know. The Astros don't know, and they're still a few days away from having to make that decision as to what exactly they're going to do. But right now with Luis Garcia, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So let the kid go out there and continue to cook like he's been doing. He's really helped stabilize things for the Stros. And again, Framber Valdez, who just came back from injury and is now in the midst of putting together his 3rd really good start since coming back from his minor league rehab assignment a few weeks ago with the Skeeters. Again, his last outing last week, also against the Sox, went 7 innings, allowed just 1 earned, struck out 10, threw 102 pitches, and he's in the top of the 3rd, 2 outs now, and is yet to allow a hit to the Sox tonight, as he's in a prime position to go out there and get the win. He's gotten plenty of run support early in this one. So that's what's going on with the Astros, but there's actually a bigger story going on with baseball. If you saw the Sports Illustrated article over the weekend, really a bombshell report, or at least that's what a lot of people in baseball think, and that there's been a lot of talk and a lot of speculation, and in some cases you just flat out saw it, as everybody I'm sure remembers what happened in that Cardinals game about a week or a week and a half ago, and that's with foreign substances on the mound and pitchers employing sticky stuff. It's obviously a practice that's been around for as long as baseball's been around, going back to the 1800s, but it's something that's become so prevalent in the game, whether it's guys rubbing a little sunscreen off their cap, you mix it with a little bit of rosin off the bag, or as the Sports Illustrated article alluded to, and they had a lot of current and former players, coaches, guys who were willing to talk to Sports Illustrated, not put their names on it because they said that obviously everybody knows you're not supposed to be using foreign substances, but it's that prevalent in baseball that there are guys saying, yeah, it's almost coached or encouraged in some clubhouses that if you're not doing it, the guys in the other clubhouse are. And we've seen that the offensive numbers are down across the board in Major League Baseball. Balls in play are down across the board in Major League Baseball. And there's plenty of reasons for this. It's not just because you're seeing more and more pitchers use some kind of foreign substance to increase their spin rate, get a better grip on the ball, have better movement. Pitchers in general are just bigger, faster, stronger than they've ever been. We know more about training, nutrition, preparation. Obviously, with all the technology advances, you can scout ahead and really plan out your attack for lineups and for how you go about your business as a pitcher. And that's just one small aspect of obviously you can get into the shift and more guys playing for the 3 true outcomes in terms of their approach at the plate. So it's not just foreign substances, but the sticky stuff is a huge problem in baseball that they need to address, and that Major League Baseball is going out and making headway right now, that they are going to start changing the way that they adjudicate what can and cannot happen with the pitcher on the mound. The rule up until now has been, unless the opposing one of the opposing benches or manager asks the ump to go and check, the ump doesn't go out there and say, what's that under your cap? Why do you keep putting your hand in your mitt? What's going on here? It had to be called for, and it typically didn't happen that often. But now baseball is going to change it and start almost at random checking on pitchers, checking their gloves, checking their equipment. And here's Fox Sports' Ken Rosenthal, who was on FS1 just a short time ago, discussing just what the changes are for Major League Baseball as they try to police what has become a growing problem in the game, and part of the reason that you're seeing such a lack of offense and action within all these games across all of Major League Baseball.
Umpires are finally going to be empowered to enforce the rules on the books. And for years, they've been instructed only to inspect pitchers when the opposing manager complains. And the opposing manager he never complains because he doesn't want his own guys inspected. Now, we don't know exactly how this is going to look, but Joe West, baseball's senior umpire, told me that every pitcher will be checked in every game. That's the way this is going to work. MLB does not want to give the appearance of singling out any one pitcher or team.
Getting checked, I would think that there are certain issues that are going to arise as a result of these enhanced rules and trying to enforce them. What are those?
Well, the first will be how the Players Association reacts to any suspension that might occur. The Players Association reserves the right to appeal any form of discipline that Major League Baseball imposes, and they presumably will be talking with baseball about just how this will unfold. Baseball will need them at least relatively on board before announcing its policy. And the other question, Chris, concerns pace of play. If you're checking pitchers, all pitchers, in every game, I would assume that's going to slow things down. So you might be addressing one problem and exacerbating another. But right now, the main concern is establishing a level playing field. That's the biggest thing here, competitive advantage that's being established. And baseball wants to take care of that and worry about the pace of play alongside.
Again, that was Fox Sports' Ken Rosenthal, MLB insider, earlier today on FS1. This is a rule change that is coming not just soon, but it sounds like any day now. That's how serious baseball thinks this is you're seeing that across the board. Obviously, it's not just that batting averages are down, but you watch some of these games and you're not seeing the fireworks. Obviously, the Astros doing all they can to prove that wrong right now up in Fenway. But some of these games, it's not uncommon now that a team has double-digit strikeouts, and it's not because, oh, well, you're on the other end, the pitcher you're facing is throwing a Kerry Wood-esque 20K performance. It's that it's harder than ever to hit the ball. And if the reason that is because so many pitchers are utilizing foreign substances, it's something that needs to be addressed. Yes, pace of play is a problem that baseball has been trying to fix for a few years now, but it doesn't matter if the game is faster because it's just a bunch of guys striking out because they can't get any hits because so many pitchers have some kind of advantage. So it'll be interesting to see just what comes of this as far as umps being able to dictate when, where, and how they want to check pitchers and their equipment, their ball caps, and their mitts as they try to corral this problem and get it under control. So we'll continue to give you updates on the Astros game as that moves along, but do want to transition to some football. As I mentioned, the Texans in the middle of organized team activities. No Deshaun Watson up at NRG right now, but for the first time since they officially joined the Texans, we heard from the quarterbacks who will be taking snaps for Houston in Tyrod Taylor and rookie Davis Mills. So let's get to Tyrod Taylor, who all the talk when he met with the reporters a few days ago via Zoom is as though he is the starter, and that is how this team is planning to at least enter training camp as Tyrod Taylor with QB1.
Yes, of course, as far as the pressure thing or the pressure question, I don't think anyone will put more pressure on myself than me. I have high expectations for myself. I hold myself to a certain standard. So coming out each and every day and performing at a high level is where the standard is. And of course, yes, Deshaun played at a very high level and has played at a very high level throughout his career. I've been a fan of his, and I know him personally. But the opportunity to be able to start here is something that I look forward to, and looking forward, like I said, just going out and competing with the guys that we have in our locker room, the great talent, Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, Jordan Akins, David Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram, all guys that I've admired from afar. Being able to be in the locker room with those guys and to go battle with those guys on Sundays is something that I'm looking forward to. this offense allows, for sure, the quarterback, myself, to get the ball out of hands fast. I mean, we're the general. We run the show. Everything runs through us. But more importantly, we have playmakers at the receiver position, tight end position, and as well at the running back position. And it's my job to get the ball to those guys. I think we have a lot of great concepts that allow those guys to play free and to get open and get the ball. So the more efficiently we do that, the better off we are on offense and as far as putting up points.
And apologies for some technical issues as we lost my mic there for a second. But again, Tyrod Taylor and the Texans right now, all things pointing towards he is QB1 as they progress through these off-season training activities and then get ready for training camp. Now, of course, the other big name in the quarterback room is the rookie out of Stanford, Davis Mills, a third-round pick, but the first selection that the Texans made, since they didn't get to pick in rounds 1 or 2 as part of the Laramie Tunsil deal. And so there's, of course, going to be all kinds of eyes on Davis Mills, how he's progressing. What are the expectations for him? Is obviously 2021 is shaping up to be seemingly a lost year for the Texans, or at least a rebuilding year, as it does not look like Deshaun Watson is going to have much of a future with this team. There very well may be a chance that the Texans are hunting for their next signal caller in the 2022 draft. So you have to figure out, is Davis Mills the guy, or do you need to go find somebody else? Here was Davis Mills over the weekend. He was at the TriStar memorabilia and autographs show down at NRG. Fox 26 sports director Mark Berman was able to speak with him as he got his first chance to interact with Houston fans and, of course, to take a few questions from reporters. This was Davis Mills over the weekend.
In his first public appearance in Houston, Texans rookie quarterback Davis Mills signs for fans at the TriStar Autograph Show at NRG Arena.
It's pretty cool, meeting all the new fans in Houston. Really, I've only been in Houston a couple weeks. My sister's been here for a couple years, and she's kind of pointed me in the right directions. But, I mean, I'm extremely excited to meet some people from Houston.
Davis just recently signed his first professional contract and has been working out in Houston since he was drafted in late April. He's already had some special moments with the Texans.
A little bit of everything. I think that kind of oh wow moment hasn't really hit yet, just because I've had so much on my plate and it's really hard to realize like what I'm truly going through, but obviously extremely humbled by the experience that I've been a part of and look forward to the next couple years in Houston.
Davis is comfortable with how things have gone so far for him on the field in Houston.
I feel like I've done pretty well so far. Obviously, it's a new experience for me. Being in Houston, really meeting all the new teammates and coaches, definitely learned a lot so far. They've kind of thrown a lot at us pretty fast, so I've had to pick it up fast, or at least what I could so far, but we kind of all know that this is kind of the period where we're all getting back into shape and really getting the feel of all of our teammates, at least route timing wise and just feel of the offense. But it's been great so far.
And that includes working with veteran quarterback Tyrod Taylor.
I mean, a lot of it's just like knowledge of the game, and obviously that takes a little bit of time to learn. And he has loads of it. And then the other part about him is his just professionalism and how he comes in and works every day. I mean, I look up to him, and I definitely am looking forward to get the opportunity to learn under him.
And Davis acknowledges his time at Stanford has helped him make the transition from college to the NFL.
Oh, I mean, it was tremendously helpful. What I did at Stanford was a lot of pro-style systems, so it's not necessarily the same exact verbiage and offensive stuff we talk about here in Houston, but a lot of kind of the base concepts we did at Stanford really allowed me to come in with a little bit of a head start.
Davis was asked who are some of the NFL's top quarterbacks he patterns his game after.
I mean, I think there's a lot of guys. Growing up, I was a big fan of Andrew Luck, and that was kind of one of the reasons I chose Stanford. But really recently, it was kind of between Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Drew Brees. And I kind of used to always watch all three of their games and take what I could to apply to my own.
Again, that was Davis Mills over the weekend at the TriStar Sports Autograph and Memorabilia Show with our Mark Berman. So Davis Mills, understandably, still has a ways to go as a rookie. Of course, coming from Stanford, playing under David Shaw, he played in a pro-style system, and that gives him perhaps a leg up over other rookie quarterbacks, but it's still June, so it's too early to draw too many conclusions on just what Davis Mills can or cannot do, as he's going to have the chance to learn under a veteran in Tyrod Taylor. He has a quarterbacks coach who is familiar with his background. Pep Hamilton, who is also the passing game coordinator for the Texans, is a David Shaw disciple himself. Of course, was Andrew Luck's offensive coordinator and QB coach when Andrew Luck was at Stanford. And you heard Davis Mills allude to Luck was a big reason why he himself ended up choosing the Cardinal. So Pep Hamilton and Davis Mills both come from a similar background in terms of scheme and what they're familiar with. And Pep Hamilton has already acknowledged, he actually said today in a Zoom meeting with reporters, that he's been watching Davis Mills since Davis was in high school because he is friends with David Shaw. And so David Shaw had him check out this kid who years ago was the number one quarterback prospect coming out of Georgia, number one quarterback prospect in the whole country when he was coming out in high school. And injuries are the only reason why he did not play as much football. And of course, the pandemic is a lot of other big time, highly touted quarterbacks. So if the Texans play this right and you don't throw them into the fire right away from day one, especially because this is still an offense that's in flux and a retooled offensive line, and you don't know what you're getting yet from that revamped running game that now features 2,700 running backs, then perhaps you can, by year's end, have an opportunity to get some closer looks at the rookie in live game action and see what kind of prospect he can be. But right now, for everybody, but certainly for a rookie and just a handful of OTAs and rookie mini camps, you can't draw too many conclusions, especially for a guy who, again, was the third round selection, 9th quarterback taken off the board. So I think the Texans understand that this is definitely a project with Davis Mills as they try to figure out what they're going to do both short-term and long-term at the quarterback position. All right, do want to get one other Texans thought in here, and that is Tim Kelly, who stayed on as offensive coordinator. You have to think a lot of that was because the thought was Deshaun Watson was going to be your quarterback. And last year, Deshaun Watson put up historic numbers playing under Tim Kelly. But he was asked today, what's it like preparing without Deshaun Watson? He did not want to comment. He simply addressed the quarterbacks that he does have in his room and what the game plan for at least the time being is with his signal callers. Here's Tim Kelly.
Going through, the past couple of weeks has been really good working with the guys that we have here. Obviously, starting with Tyrod, a pro's pro, comes in, is prepared. He's seen everything. He's heard everything. He's been great in the locker room. It's been great to get his perspective on how he sees things. And he's been great to work with. Davis has come in here and he's put his head down. He's gone to work. He's doing everything he can to learn the intricacies of the offense. It seems like every year we talk about rookies and how hard that transition is from college to the NFL. And he's in here, busting his butt and again, putting in all the work and doing all the right things. And then Jeff's come in and has done a great job acclimating to our offense. He's been around, he's seen some things. So really, putting in the time there to learn and we're figuring out ways to take advantage of all three guys' skill sets.
So again, nothing earth-shattering there from Tim Kelly, but all signs point to Deshaun Watson not being a part of the Texans' plans anytime soon. All right, I do want to transition away from the NFL and actually talk some basketball very briefly. Of course, the playoffs going on right now, and they do not include the Houston Rockets because they finished with the worst record in the league. And so now all their attention is to the NBA draft, starting with the draft lottery, which is just 2 weeks away. And again, Houston with the worst record, but they changed the rules a few years ago. So that does not guarantee them the best odds of potentially landing the number 1 overall pick. The 3 worst records in the league, which in this case are the Rockets, the Pistons, and the Magic, all share the best odds at getting the number 1 overall pick. Houston at just better than 50% chance of landing either picks 1, 2, 3, or 4. If Houston picks any lower than 4th overall, they have to send that draft selection to Oklahoma City as part of the Russell Westbrook deal that they made a few years ago, which is going to continue to look bad for Houston when you consider part of the reason that they traded so much away to absorb Russell Westbrook is they had to get rid of Chris Paul's gigantic contract, because at the time CP3 was coming off another injury-shortened campaign in 2018-2019. Of course, the 2017-18 season with the Rockets ended with CP3 unable to finish that series against the Warriors. So there were a lot of people around basketball that thought, how can you afford to have an injury-riddled star on the wrong side of 30 who has played as much NBA basketball and has as much miles on the tires as Chris Paul, and who's going to be eating up huge chunks of your salary? So that's why the Rockets had to dump so many future draft picks into that deal in order to trade away Chris Paul's contract. And all he's done is gone out and continue to be the point guard now for 2 different teams, is his Phoenix Suns with a big win in game 1 of their series against the Nuggets, who it was just announced, or it hasn't officially been announced, but all the reports came out that Nikola Jokic is going to be named the NBA MVP. So no surprise there. But CP3 did it with an OKC team that was supposed to be rebuilding, took them to the playoffs, and then took them to Game 7 against the Rockets last year. And now he has the Suns in prime position with the Lakers out of there to potentially make it to the NBA Finals. And once you get there, anything can happen in the tournament. But for the Rockets, they have to sit there and hope that the ping pong balls bounce their way, and their good luck charm is the greatest Rocket of all time. The team announcing yesterday that Hakeem Olajuwon, the Dream, will be their representative at the draft lottery in 2 weeks. So, of course, all the teams who have a chance to end up with the number 1 pick, obviously it's everyone who didn't go to the playoffs, they all get to select somebody to represent them. Sometimes teams just go with the owner or the general manager. Sometimes it's a friend or family member or a fan, or, of course, a famous player. And if you're the Rockets case and you need all the luck that you can get on your side to potentially get the number 1 pick, but at the very least, you need a top 4 pick, you send the Dream, because Rockets, Hakeem Olajuwon, good things tend to happen more often than not. So we will see how that plays out, as the Rockets have their sights set on possibly Cade Cunningham, the point guard out of Oklahoma State, or at the very least a top 4 pick that you can find some kind of asset that you could put onto your squad as you attempt to rebuild this thing. All right, my thanks as always to Mark Berman, to the Texans, and of course to Fox Sports and Ken Rosenthal for everything tonight. We will do it again next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Be sure to join us again on our YouTube channel. Just search Fox 26. You can go to fox26houston.com, or if you are joining us on our Facebook page, Fox 26 Houston. As always, I'm Sal Manine. We'll see you next week. Thanks.